welcome to our final podcast for 4Randoms. My name is Elliot Way, and I will be the moderator for this podcast. And I am here at the Solano College TV studio, joined by Maya Winston, Carlos Carvajal, and Jacob Pringle. In our podcast today, we'll be talking about what we've learned throughout our public speaking course. And we're going to start by talking about our first impressions and expectations coming into this class, some of the challenges that we faced throughout it, and then we'll end off by talking about what we've actually learned so far. So with that all out of the way, what are your guys' first impressions and expectations coming to this class? And were you guys excited, nervous, or in between, or just didn't care that much?
I didn't even know what to expect. Like when I first signed up for the class earlier in spring semester, oh my gosh, that was so long ago. But I've never been like super uncomfortable with public speaking. I mean, it's not my favorite thing to do. I don't think it's anybody's favorite thing to do. But I was just like, it wasn't something that made me super scared. So I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna get here and this class is just gonna make me hate talking in public, because like it'll be like a speech every other day or something. And I was just like, I didn't know what to expect at all.
Yeah, for me, I mean, it's like when I sign up to any class, honestly, the first day it's always like nervous. I'm like, okay, some new people, new teachers, but specifically this one, since it's public speaking, I'm like, okay, bigger step, I guess. But I was definitely nervous, but the teacher is amazing. He's very funny, so that made me kind of like get more comfortable in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But fact that he said that really like impressed me a lot is how people's number one fear is public speaking, like even more than death. So I was like, oh my gosh, I kind of understand that though. So
It's like validating.
yeah, so valid. But yeah.
Yeah, for me, when I like registered for the course like online, when we go through like Falcon Nest, I was like, ooh, introduction to communications. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna push that off until like the day I have to confront it. And then the first day and like the days leading up to it, I was like kind of getting nervous because like public speaking isn't like something that like we're naturally like gonna be calm with. And like, but I think the exercise that he made us do the first day kind of like calmed me down on the expectations of the course.
When I was signing up for this class, I didn't want to take it at all, and I was dreading taking this class. And I've been pushing it off for as long as possible, but eventually it was one of the only classes I had left that I had to take. So I just had to sign up for it, and I wanted to just get it done and over with.
No, literally, like because I've been here for a minute now, and I'm just like, oh, I actually like have to take a communications class. I have to take public speaking, and then my thought process was like, oh, I'll take it in the summer because then there's like less time to do speeches. So I was just like, let me take it in the summer and get it over with, I guess. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be a lot more talking, and I wasn't expecting there to be like a majority vote for if we want to do speeches or podcasts. I voted for the podcast because it was going to be in a group and we weren't going to have an audience like actively sitting in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of helped with the nerves, and we still get practice or an opportunity to practice getting our public speaking skills better or improve it, even though there's no audience there. And we also got to learn a little bit more about what's going on behind the set and how that kind of works too.
I also think the fact that like when he said it was like a 6-week course, I was like kind of relieved because like even if like I'm like super nervous and like I don't do too well on the podcast, which I think we have done well, but like it'll be only 6 weeks, so like after that I can live my life.
It'll be over
6
quick.
weeks.
Yeah, it felt longer than 6 weeks though. Creating all those outlines too.
Oh my
yeah,
gosh,
yeah,
the
yeah.
outlines were so like, because when you usually have like assignments like that, the teachers are usually pretty specific about what they want. So I was like, I don't really know how I'm gonna do that, but we'll see.
Yeah, but I was really nervous about coming to this class because I feel like a lot of people come into this class knowing what problems they have with public speaking, and for me, I know that I start to talk really fast when I'm nervous,
Mm-hmm.
and that has been pointed out multiple times throughout the peer evaluations. But in a way, I guess it kind of helped me because I think I have slowed down just a little bit, but it'll get better over time probably. What were some of the other Like, what did you know that you had a problem with coming to this class?
Ooh.
Like our challenges in this
Yeah.
class? Well, for challenges, I would say just
Well,
totally,
just like, what did you know that you have a problem with
yeah.
when you came to this class?
Like, I don't want to say time management because that's more like a homework at home thing, but just like actually getting like a sense of how long I've been talking like out loud in front of people. Like I get in front of people and I'm just like my head goes totally blank and I just say what I've been practicing. So if I accidentally skip stuff or if I talk faster or if I like am aware I'm talking faster, so then I end up talking slower. Like I counter correct too much, and then it's just those are all things that like add up within my speech, and I'm just like I have no clue how long I've been talking by the end of it, and I'll just be thinking like, oh yeah, no, I was so short on that speech actually that like I needed at least 3 minutes and I couldn't have been up there for more than one, and then I sit down and they're like, so actually you were talking for like 6. That was a minute. I was like, oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
For me, it was kind of like the stance because I was like, I'm always like fidgeting with my hands or like with my legs, and I feel like it kind of shows that shows more when you're like speaking publicly because like you're nervous
Mhm.
and your body's like natural reactions to be like, oh, we're gonna start jumping a bit side to side now, and that's what I was kind of most nervous with.
For me, I feel like it was definitely eye contact because, well, conversations one on one, I'm cool with. I just look at the person, blah, but in front of so many people, like making sure I look at everybody's just not my thing. It feels like a job, kind of. Yeah. So, because even like high school and middle school, even presenting all that, I would just look at my teacher straight up, and it's just like I'm just presenting to just my teacher. But I've like 100% improved on that. So now I like make sure I look at everybody. It doesn't feel like a job anymore.
Mhm.
So yeah. that was a big one
Well,
for me.
right now we've talked about our first impressions coming to this class and what we kind of expected, and now we're going to talk about a little more on the specific bigger challenges that we faced in this class. So, what were some of the problems that you guys faced, like the harder ones?
Hard.
Oh, the harder one.
Yeah,
I feel like just keeping my like rhythm while I was talking,
yeah.
because there was especially in like the first podcast we did as well as the speech that we did before that. Like if I think back on it, there was so many times where I had like so much I wanted to say like in my head, but what was coming out of my mouth like it was just so like choppy. Like I'd have like a big chunk of information and then I'd totally blank for like 20
Yeah.
seconds and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm saying.
Like you know what you want to say, but the moment you turn around, you just kind of forget everything.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I felt with the collage speech. I had everything ready. I practiced in my room multiple times, and once I got up there, I turned around and I forgot everything. It sounded like everything was muffled, and I couldn't hear anything. And I told myself to talk slower, but I feel like that made it worse because I could just hear my heartbeat going up, and it
Mhm.
just became quieter everywhere else. So, and I could barely hear myself talking too. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think it was the collage speech in our first podcast where it was like the mountain for me to climb, and because it's like it was my first time ever doing a speech or a podcast, and like it's not like a usual setting that I'm accustomed to because we're
Yeah.
like in this setup that
Yeah.
we were in, like a facility that I never knew we had. But yeah, those were like those two were kind of like the top of the mountain for me.
Now, for example, me on the first ever podcast here, this is my like ever. I never done this before. Just sitting on the couch, so many cameras like in front. I'm like, okay, so I made me even more nervous. But connecting it to you guys' point about forgetting what I like to say, because I had like kind of practiced, looked over each segment and what to say. I was like, okay, I'm ready. I sit down and we do the podcast, all this, and then after I'm like, okay, I just forgot to say like 3 4 points that I had written down. So it's like all the nervousness just gets you in the end.
And getting back to what you said earlier about high school and now, presentations for this class, this was the first time where I actually had to start talking in front of an audience without anything to read off of compared to high school. because with high school you do your research, you don't really practice anything at all, and you just read off the slides or the piece of paper that you
Right.
printed out, and you're not looking at the audience either. But with this class, you're kind of forced to get that experience in and kind of just learn how to do it. But I feel like that also helped me in a way too. But also with coming up with the outlines and structures for everything, how you want to say it, that was also helpful for practicing everything else too.
Yeah.
But when it came to making the podcast, how did you guys feel about coming up with that?
Oh, I feel like it was just a bit hard, just because it was, again, it was something you never, I don't know about you guys, but it's something I've never done before. Podcasting like with all the cameras and then like the big screen with our faces on it, and then like even just
Yeah.
like having the option to go back and like watch our own video and like listening to my voice on camera, and I'm like, oh, I can't, and it was just having that like expectation was just rough, I think.
Yeah, for me, it was kind of like the outlines because like it was kind of hard to like trying to word it to how I talk and how to make it like naturally flow. So it's like it seems useful to me for the podcast, and also like I feel like the sources were kind of hard for me to like kind of make it flow in with the
Mhm.
conversation, and trying to balance like conversational while still being somewhat professional.
Yeah, it was definitely hard to like work those in because like they're necessary. It's to make sure that like people who watch this video know that you know what you're talking about and you're not just like pulling stuff out of thin air. But it's also like it's hard to work it in where you say like the author and then where they published it and then when they published it and then like actually accurately describe what they were saying, and it's hard to work that into a conversation without it sounding like somebody else wrote it.
Also
Yeah.
disrupting the flow.
Yeah,
That's true.
because if you're talking like we're talking right now all casual, and then you like out of nowhere, yeah, and then in 2022 blah 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 from blah 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 publication wrote that, it's just like it sounds weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now for me, it was same as Jacob. Like the outline part was a little rough because of like so many points in each segment that we had, and it was also like a bunch of work. I mean,
Yeah.
kind of. You know, you have to do good research, your sources, all this. But in the end, like I look at it and I'm like, okay, but it actually helps you a lot
Mhm.
because you're just not sitting here and saying
Mhm.
random stuff. Like,
Yeah.
You know, you're actually saying real information and then using those sources so people like think that okay, this guy knows exactly what he's talking about. You know?
For me, being the moderator for the podcast for all three of them has been very difficult for me because I have never been good at maintaining like the flow of a conversation with other people, even in just a casual conversation. So this was a great way for me to kind of practice doing that, but also I had to figure out how to maintain that flow even with a script before we actually got to the podcast. So not only did I have to do it before, I had to do it during the podcast too. And I had to take all of your outlines and make sure
Yeah.
that all of what you research is being said in the podcast. And I had to incorporate it and find out like a specific order that everything needs to be said where it sounds natural and not just put there to add more time into the podcast. And that was a challenge for me because I spent a lot of time trying to figure out who needs to say what when or where does this go. Another thing is, especially with the second podcast, we did have a few like slip ups where sometimes people forgot what to say, so I would have to come up with a follow-up question on the spot to make sure that the point that they missed was being said and not forgotten, just in case something that we have to add on to later isn't just coming out of nowhere, because we connect back a lot to what we've said in previous segments or earlier in that segment. But
That's honestly a flex, honestly.
I know. I was just like, it was the second podcast, I think, like right before, and I was like, oh my god, I could be the moderator. I was like, I could, but it was just like, oh my gosh, like I respect you for doing it.
No, yeah, 100%.
yeah, that's another thing. I don't like seeing myself on camera, and it doesn't help that every time I look into the camera, there's a giant me looking back at me, and it just kind of made me forget what I was gonna say, and this happened multiple times, even before this podcast.
No, yeah, like I'm fine with like pictures and everything, but for the podcast specifically, especially because we have all the cameras and then the big screen behind one of the cameras.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure if I look back at one of like our other two podcasts, you'll just see like me glancing at the camera without moving my head because I was just like, oh my gosh, I want to see what I look like, but I don't want to see what I look like.
I've never gone back to
Yeah.
watch our podcast. And I don't think I want to either.
No.
Yeah, no, me neither.
No, I just don't like seeing myself on camera.
I got like a minute into our first one and then I was like, that's enough. I don't need to see anymore. I know what I said.
Yeah. Well, does anyone else have anything to add?
Well, it was kind of an add on what you and Maya said, or like the podcast setting. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm here, I'm present. I'm actually have to say something. I'm at home and just sitting on my bed, and like that's constantly like in the back of my head, and like it like stopped me mid sentence. I'll be like,
Mm-hmm. Or even just like building off of what you and Elliot said earlier about like thinking back to high school. It was just so hard getting used to that here because we're in a class specifically for public speaking. So of course they're gonna be like, wow, I don't want to say graded on, but of course you're gonna be like forced to notice things like your stance or your eye contact or other things like that, like gesturing with your hand or vocal projection. And it just wasn't something that you were really like forced to pay attention to in high school unless it was like really bad and nobody could hear you or something.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, it was never something you really had to pay attention to in high school unless the teacher was really like specific like that. But when you're here, it's like, oh my gosh, wait, I need to think about that. And it like kind of trips you up mid like speech because you're like remembering like, oh wait, I shouldn't be like fidgeting with my hands right in front of the camera and I should be looking at people.
yeah, to add like practice would have helped that. I feel like I could have done more practicing, but that was kind of like a hard hill to overcome for me, just because I feel like I'm weird when I'm like just speaking in a room by myself. I was like trying to like set up like
I
pillows
had
to
to
act like
practice
people.
quietly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I enlisted my brother. I was like, you're gonna sit there for a second while I do this a couple times.
Yeah, but I practiced alone, and I had to do it quietly. I made sure no one was home too when I practiced, because then I would increase my volume and practice working on that too. Because sometimes I talk quietly too, and that's another thing I had to work on throughout this class. Because I don't talk as loud as I do normally. Obviously, I can if I wanted to,
Yeah.
but the nerves just kind of make you not want to talk so loudly.
And you like forget you need to.
And that's another challenge I had was the peer evaluations. Coming to this class what your problems are, and it just feels like what they have to say is amplifying those problems.
Yeah.
So then you kind of start to become more self-conscious about it. But at the same time, you know that you need to work on it. But when you're doing your speeches or podcasts live, you kind of just forget it all.
Yeah.
And you don't think about it that much.
It's like you said, and then like halfway through you remember, and then it like trips you up. You're just like, oh my
Yeah.
god, wait, hold on, I need to be doing this thing, and I don't think I was doing it the whole time I've been up here.
Yeah, and even after, you're like, I didn't do that, or why did I do this? All of that.
Oh my
But
gosh, yeah.
it's terrible.
Yeah, I feel everything is just practice at the end of the day. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really practice much because locking yourself up in your room just talking to yourself, for me, it's kind of like weird. I'm like, okay, I don't know why I'm doing this right now. but definitely, I feel like it would definitely help a lot. So.
No, and then I had to, like you said, you sometimes talk quiet. I usually don't have a problem with volume. I usually have a problem with saying everything like all in one tone. Like I've had speeches in the past where the whole time I just sounded like this the whole time, and I was just talking, and there was no
Monotone.
pauses in my voice, and it was so bad. I like listened back to it, and I'm like playing it back in my head, and I'm like, oh my god, that was so bad.
That's
like,
another thing. I've had a lot of people tell me that I'm very monotone.
Yeah.
And I tried to work on it. I don't know how else to fix it.
It's a bit better with when we're talking about stuff like this because it feels more like a conversation.
Yeah.
But then like with our earlier podcasts, like how much can you really like not sound monotone when you're talking about shrinkflation? Like it's just a bit more difficult when the topic is more serious.
Yeah, because you have to learn about everything too. And I think
Mhm.
that's another problem we had. We weren't choosing topics that were exactly relatable to us.
Mhm.
We were choosing topics that we were able to work with and able to fit within that time frame for what we
Yeah.
had to work on it.
Like they were happening, they were problems that we were actually facing, sure, but they weren't stuff. They were very factual. It was stuff that's like, oh, you only really need like the definition and maybe like a brief explanation, and then you're done. So then when we come with our outlines and you were looking at them all and they were all like saying the same thing, it was like, oh, what are we gonna do?
Yeah, and also like the topics we picked, like with the policy podcast, that's not like something that like someone could like kind of like do
Google.
overnight, right?
Yeah.
You can just Google.
Because like
Yeah.
one of the main segments was or not supposed to be, but it was recommended to be like how to solve the problem, and it's like you can't really solve shrinkflation, at least not
Yeah.
like to the audience that we're aiming towards,
It's
like
not
random.
something that can be done individually.
Yes.
So at the very least, we were at least trying to make or spread awareness,
Yeah.
I guess. But I feel like it's already a problem that a lot of people know.
Yeah.
But, well, now that we've talked about some of the challenges that we faced throughout this class, let's start talking about what we've actually learned up until this point. So what is the biggest lesson that you guys think you have learned throughout this class? Or just anything in general?
For sure, confidence. I was not that confident talking at first during the beginning of this class. Like I said, especially during the first podcast or even our first speech, I was more like, I feel like just wrapped in a box, not like showing my true self. But now, I show my true colors. I don't really mind, because at the end of the day, you're just like, you're just talking.
Yeah.
I feel like everything got so much easier once, like I already knew it gets better if you actually like relax and you don't like hyperventilate in front of people.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh my gosh, when I figured out that it's just so much easier after you relax, and it really was.
Mhm.
Like after I figured that out, and then I'm repeating myself now, but it made everything else so much easier, like not fidgeting with my hands and making sure I was breathing properly and making sure I was projecting and not sounding monotone the whole time and looking at my peers while I was talking. It just all became so much easier to manage if I wasn't super stressed out while I was talking.
Well, getting back to the podcast earlier, I said that I was able to kind of learn how to control the flow of conversations better, and I think I was able to learn how to do a little better, but it was still scripted, but I think it helped me to learn something a little more. For me, throughout this class, I wouldn't necessarily say that I learned anything, but I do think it was a great opportunity for me to kind of get practice in when it comes to public speaking, because you don't really get that many opportunities to do it until you actually have to do it. But
And then it's like for serious stuff, not for like just a class not that class presentations aren't serious, but it'll be like for your job, for example, and not just like a low stakes, oh yeah, let me talk about my pet dog for a minute.
yeah.
Yeah, it's confidence. I think was like the main thing that I learned is that how to be a more confident speaker, like project my voice, and how to like look not only like speak confident but look confident in the topic that you are discussing. It's kind of like this class kind of like built like a structure in my head where it's like, all right, how is my stance okay? All right, if that's okay, then how is my eye contact? How's my hands? How's my voice? Is my voice inflection? Is my voice appropriate for like the topic that I'm talking about?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then also things like the outline, like it was annoying to do because I've never been one of those people who did that. Like I don't even really write rough drafts for my essays.
I just go for it.
Yeah, like I've never been one of those people, but then I found that after writing the outlines, it just made talking about everything a lot easier, and it helped me like keep my flow, if you know what I mean. It helped me keep what I was trying to say and everything in order and where it's supposed to be in like our different topic or our different segments, and having the outline just made everything a bit more clear.
Yeah, I feel like it was definitely more worth it to work on the outline. It was a lot of work, but if I think about it, even in future classes or like further education, if you use like an outline for any speech or anything, you're gonna feel so much better. Like instead of just reading off points or all that, you might seem more professional, but at the end of the day, it's like you have to how do I like word this? You're more confident when you're speaking.
Yeah.
You know what you're talking about.
Like you seem less, am I writing this right? You seem less unsure.
Yeah.
You seem more sure of yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. Also with podcasts, I don't know if I've already said it, but we got to learn basically how podcasts work behind the scene, or at least get an idea of what kind of work is being done to make one. And I still think that was a great experience for us to learn.
Yeah, no, I really like that because like one of you was mentioning earlier, speech like public speaking allows you to have like the practice to give speeches in public, but even that, it you wouldn't normally have the practice. While you wouldn't necessarily need it, it's still a good experience to have this practice with podcasts, I feel, because it gave me a lot of valuable information that I would have otherwise never gotten if I didn't take this class.
Also, I feel like I kind of like needed overall this experience of this class has been like great. Well, I think I kind of needed this class because we took like a 3 week break before coming into the summer semester, and like I basically did nothing the whole time, and I felt like I needed to talk to someone. And I feel like this was a great experience of not only projecting my voice but also like getting to know each one of you guys.
I was kind of the same way. I was at home during the break too. I actually didn't take any classes last semester, so I was stuck at home for longer. Yeah. Well, does anyone else have anything to add?
I really enjoyed this class actually.
Yeah.
Like I said in my first expectations, I really wasn't sure what to expect because it wasn't something that was super scary to me, but I just didn't want to have to take it. But I'm really glad I did for the experiences and for everything that I learned and for meeting you guys actually. And it was fun. I wasn't expecting it to be fun, and it was fun.
I wasn't either, because I said I was dreading it and I didn't want to take this class, and I was just taking it to get it done and over with. But it was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. And I thought it was mostly just going to be speeches. Wasn't coming in here thinking that podcasts were going to be an option, because I've never actually watched an entire podcast. I don't think I've even started watching one until after I had to look up how podcasts work, just because I had to be the moderator for the first time, and eventually I had to be it for the second and third time. But I guess it gave me insights to something new that I never really tried watching before. But that was it for me.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a fun experience, especially like I feel like we became pretty close, like our group, all that. But yeah, I just thought it was gonna be, deliver your speech. Let's say prepare for your next one, deliver, prepare. It's okay. But this podcast idea, I feel like it was way better than just speeches, and also because we're like in these type of scenarios, because I don't think I'll ever be in a scenario like this in the future.
Yeah.
So it's definitely like a good experience to be here, like talking around all these cameras and that. But it was definitely fun.
Well, that brings us to the end of our podcast on what we've learned so far throughout this course, public speaking course. My name is Elliot Way, the moderator for this podcast, and I am joined by Maya Winston, Carlos Carbajal, and Jacob Pringle. Public speaking isn't something, it's not about being perfect, but it's about being able to build confidence every time you do it. Thank you for watching.